We're passing a police station. Someone in the police will watch it and they'll send it to each other. If you want to leave, I 100% recommend leaving. Don't listen to your dickhead boss. Hello everyone, this is the first YouTube video of the Sydney Ceramic Coating and Detail launch YouTube video. I didn't know what first video to make, but then I thought I've already organised going to Gold Coast for New Year's Eve and renting a 720S for 2 days, so might as well start it now. So yeah, we're in Gold Coast for New Year's. It's the 31st right now, and we have a 2022 or 2023 720S Spider. We're now on a mountain road, and we're doing a couple mountain pulls before, just around corners and stuff. This car's an absolute rocket. We're just going to the top of it at the moment, so I can just give you a quick walkthrough around the car and show you exactly what I have for 2 days, which is crazy. And another thing I've hinted on my post, well, I haven't hinted, I've said it, but I haven't explained what happened when I was a cop and at the beginning of the year and all that stuff. So I thought I might as well put all of that into one video, so then you know exactly who I am. You know that I'm not talking shit about things, and that when you watch me, you know that I'm telling you what actually happened. So I always knew that the money in the police wasn't the best, but I didn't join for that. I really wanted to help people, but once I joined and the money was shit, plus I got treated like a piece of shit by the other cops, after about a year I realized that the job wasn't for me. I just wasn't like them, and I had to build my own sort of business. I knew that there was more for me, and I thought I don't really want to work a job, but I might as well start my own business and then make some money at the same time. So I've actually had a couple customers, actually, when I was doing their cars, they've said to me like, bro, what do you mean you were a cop? Like, why did you hate it? Why did you leave? I thought it was really good. And it was all right at sometimes, but I always knew that, doing my 12-hour shifts, doing my night shifts, getting treated like I was a piece of shit in the meantime for fuck all money was not going to do anything for me. And even if I did get treated good, then I probably would have stayed. It wasn't about the money, but I joined the police when I was 19. I thought, well, even though I'm getting treated like a piece of shit and the money's shit, I could at least buy a house and live a normal life. Because I was 19 or 20, I was dumb, so I didn't know. And then when I started looking at buying a house, I realized that I was never going to be able to buy a house or even a unit 3 hours away from Sydney. And I had dreams of getting married and my wife not working and buying my Camaro, for example, which is 150 grand. I know that is a lot of money, but I don't know how there's people that own McLarens like these. At the same time, that's when Andrew Tate started getting big, and he really put it into my head, and I realized how are people driving 720Ss in the Gold Coast and I can't afford a fucking coffee. Like, seriously, I knew that the money was shit, the job was shit, got treated like shit, it was all rubbish, and I knew that business was the only way. Quick story, one of the things that actually set me off with this whole thing is I went to a guy's house. So he had a Merc, and that Merc was involved in an accident, and this was in 2022 I think. Oh shit, got to give away here. I went to the guy's house to see who was driving his GLS 63, which is already a fucking $200,000 AMG, and he said, oh, it was my wife, whatever. Anyway, he was really cool. I'm talking to him, and I said, this GLS 63 is really nice, bro. It was a new one at the time. And he said, bro, this is nothing. He said, look behind it. So I walked around the AMG, and it was 2021 or something, and I saw a brand new shadow grey, gunmetal grey Lamborghini Urus on a turntable. It was so new, it had plastic all on the seats, and it had just been delivered. And I hadn't seen one yet. I had only seen photos. They had just come out. And I said, what the fuck? Like, how do you... I hadn't seen a Urus yet. No one had seen a Urus yet, I think. And he said, yeah, I don't know, just my business is good. And, he did not give a fuck about this Urus, like, at all. It was on the turntable. He had just gotten it delivered, and he didn't even look at it. He had the plastic on it. He hadn't taken the plastic all off the seats and shit. So I was like, bro, like, I still have 10 hours of my shift at that point. I hated everyone in that, I hated everyone. I probably had an argument with someone that morning, and that really set me off. And then Andrew Tate started coming out, and I was like, bro, I want a business. Have no one in my family really has a business or anything like that. And I said, how do I start, whatever. And then I started I don't know, I started just questioning everything, and I'll go to work and I would say, fuck this job, like why am I getting treated like this? And you know, I won't even be able to buy a house. And then I remember I was talking about it with this one guy. He agreed with me, and then we were driving in Guildford, and he was telling me how he loves the new Silverados, but how they're like 120 grand and they're so expensive. And as he was saying that, a white Walkinshaw Silverado was in this driveway, and I said, oh look, there's one there. And he said, wow, that's so nice. It was, I didn't know much about Silverados, to be honest. I didn't know what it was. It was a Z71, and I looked it up on car sales, and that exact car was on car sales for like 160 grand. And I said, oh bro, this car's worth 160 grand. And he said, nah bro, like I don't understand how people can have that money. I said, well bro, like they started a business and they tried hard and they got it, and you know, they must have taken some risk at one point. I didn't know, like I didn't know. And then it's like after that, it was, I don't know, it was like I said something that really annoyed him just by saying that guy must have worked hard. And a lot of other things started happening like that, where I would argue with an inspector, for example, and after that I was just hated afterwards. So anyway, fast forward a little bit. So I started looking into different things, and I started doing e-com. I did it for about 2 years. It was up and down. That's where I learned how to run meta ads, how to post. Basically everything I do for SCC actually came from the e-com. And I did it for about 2 years, and to be honest, I did actually lose a lot of money doing it. But I really didn't like e-com after that. And at one point, it was the beginning of 2024, I had basically spent all my money on e-com. I had like $200 in my account while working in the place for like 2 years, or 2 years at this point. So then I started really thinking about it, and for a solid probably 3 months, I was back under the mindset of, nah, I'll just work, and you know, maybe I was just being a fucking idiot, and I spent all my money now, and I was just going to stay in the police, and I was just going to shut my mouth. Then a friend of mine called me because he knew what I was doing, and he said, hey bro, do you want to do car detailing, because we both like cars, and I had my SS at the time, and he's like, do you want to learn how to, like, you know, paint correct and ceramic coat and stuff like that? And I said, yeah, I'd love to do that. So we started a business, me and him, and we only had it for about 6 months. It did well at times, but then it basically failed. So I rebought the van, and I had like 6 grand in my account. I gave my mate 4 grand for half of the van, and I had 2 grand, and I was going to basically, I didn't give a fuck. That was going to work no matter what. When I look back on it now, I didn't understand why it didn't work. I take accountability for everything, and it was my fault that I was in business with a business partner. So it is actually my fault. I'm not blaming him. It wasn't to get rich. It was to leave the police like tomorrow. Like anything. I would have done anything to leave and not even make good money. Just have something that would pay me the same, and I can just not go there and listen to those fucking dickheads. That's why it failed, because I was pushing 150% all the time, calling all the leads exactly how I do now, but I could only do 50% because my business partner had shit to do as well that wasn't done. So it failed. I was on a holiday in Queensland at the beginning of the year that I had booked a while ago, and I knew that we were going to split, so I had already started buying the domain and stuff for Sydney Ceramic Coating, and I had it all planned out in my head already. All I had to do was get the van, and Sydney Ceramic Coating was going to start, and I was going to use everything I had learned to start it. So I remember we had a job for a very good friend of mine and his green Monaro, and we did a ceramic coating. We charged $1,100. It took us 4, 5, 6 hours or something like that, I can't remember. And that was when I realized, oh bro, we made $1,100 in, you know, like a couple hours. He said, fuck, that means we only have to work twice a week. And I said, no, that means we can do 3 of these a day. After he said that, I realized where the mentality was, and I knew that it wasn't going to end. And I also saw where my new business had to go, which was only ceramic coating. We had one final job booked for the old business. It was a green Commodore correction and coating for $2,000 in Newcastle. It's the car that got 300k views on TikTok and Instagram. Oh, it got more. and is the reason why Sydney ceramic coatings has fucking exploded like that, because of that one car. We had booked with that guy for $2,000 job. We're gonna go sometime in January or February. That guy emails back saying, hey, I need to cancel for whatever reason, I can't remember. And I was like, fuck, like that was the last job. I want to do it. Like, you know, back then I made $1,200 in a week of the police after fucking 4 years, almost 4 years. So $2,000 split between two of us was still a lot of money. Like, it is still a lot of money. So I wanted to do it. Before I even had the chance to reply, for some reason my business partner had replied, all good, bro. So I was like, what the fuck? Why did you say all good? Why don't you, try to get it back? So I called him and I said, hey bro, like, what's the go? Why do you want to cancel? And he said, oh, it's just a bit of a money thing. I said, bro, like, what do you want to pay? Like, what are you comfortable with paying? And he said, oh, $1,900. So I said, okay, all right, done. So I scheduled it for March. We split up. I kept the van. I went down with a very, very good mate of mine. We did the job. We left at 5 o'clock. We got to his house at 7 in Newcastle. We spent the whole day correcting and coding the VF. Made the 1900. Edited the video. 300k views. I was booked out for about 4 months. I was literally getting phone calls. Hey bro, just saw your video. How much to do my Raptor, my boat, my AMG, my this, my that, my GDR? And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I hadn't experienced anything like that before. Shit. Quick water break. I wanted to put the roof down. So, the roof's down. But as I was saying, so my phone was going off, Instagram comments going off. And because of how the police works, 2 day shifts, 2 night shifts, and you get 4 or 5 days off. And then with that 4 or 5 days off, you know, one or two of them, you're a write-off because of the night shifts. So you only really have 3 or 4 days off. So out of the spreadsheet of 300 people at the time that wanted it done, I could only do 15, 16 a month. So it was either I left the police or I did the business. I spoke to one of my good sergeant of mine. He's actually left Granville as well now, and he told me, bro, go do unpaid leave. You're not getting paid, you can do it as long as you want, so it doesn't matter, so you can do whatever you want. I said, done. Put the form in, did all that, and as soon as that form went in, I started getting fucking hammered. You left 20 minutes early, we're gonna dock an hour of your pay, and we're gonna go through every time you've left and keep docking your pay. And I started just getting fucking, you're gonna like all these, it's hard to explain, all these shit jobs, and you gotta go do this and that. And I realized what was happening. Then I had a meeting with this inspector. I'm not gonna go into too much detail about that meeting, but I never went back after that. So the reason they were going after me was straight jealousy when I look at it now. When I started at Sydney Ceramic Coating and the video blew up, I didn't tell anyone about it. The video actually popped up on all their feeds, and everyone in there said to me, good on you, bro, you're doing so well, the business looks mad, the video looks good, bro, like hopefully you get busy. Then like 1 or 2 weeks later, after that happened, when I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna leave, all of a sudden it turned into, nah, the business is shit, it's not gonna work, shit like that. And I didn't understand why at the time, the mystery event. I didn't understand why at the time, but it's because none of those dickheads did anything in their lives. So now that I was doing something with my life, it was some sort of personal attack towards them. So had that meeting and told them to get fucked, basically, and I never went back. That really was the most stressful point actually of my whole life. That was more stressful than, you know, down times in the business where it wasn't that busy, getting the shop. I broke this finger, it's a long story, I broke this finger ceramic coating a car. So I had to then get a worker. It was more stressful than hiring a worker. Like, all the shit I did in the business, leaving the police was more stressful than anything in the business. And I say it now as if it was easy, but the only thing that got me through it is because I prayed every day to Jesus to get me out of the police. Anything, please get me out, anything. And then I was left with the opportunity to leave, and only when I realized it was actually Jesus who had given me this opportunity did I relax, and I left, and we have not looked back since. It was a mission. I hired my first worker, He was very good, and he was always good, and broke my finger. Now we've got 2 vans, a shop. December was our biggest month. We did around 75k revenue, which is like, considering my, in the police, I was on $1,200 a week, going to 75k revenue, which isn't profit, but it's still a lot more fucking profit than the police, which is crazy. So anytime I'm stressed in the business, I just remember a day shift in the police, and I'm very grateful for all of the problems I'm having in the business. And the worst day in the business, it was still better than the best day in the police. I don't give a fuck what anyone says about that. And the business has been so good that last New Year's I was supposed to work, and I was supposed to do traffic duty. I had a party to go to, so I didn't go to the police. Called in sick. They were all freaking out. They wanted to come to my house, see if I was sick. But now we're in the Gold Coast, we're in a rainforest, we're in a drop top 720, and life is good. So the business has been very good. Sydney Ceramic Coatings has been a blessing from Jesus himself, and I've never looked back once. So now that I've clarified how I was a cop and all that, we'll talk about the actual business. I don't like talking about how I was a cop. It really wasn't a good time for me. So the best part of the business, and the reason I did it, it's not because of the McLaren or any of this shit. None of this matters. It was about I can do what I want, when I want, how I want. I don't have some evil dickhead telling me what to do, when to jump, how high to jump. None of that. I want to go to Gold Coast, I go to Gold Coast. I want to have a day off now, I have a day off. In saying that, I think I've done easy 60, 70 hours a week, easily, every week since. So I'm working a lot more, and it's a lot more stressful, but it's just a different life. And I'm grateful that Jesus Christ allowed me to have this opportunity, because I couldn't have stayed in the police. And I hope 2026 is even better, because this video will probably be sent to someone, the police will watch it, and they'll send it to each other. If you want to leave, I 100% recommend leaving. It doesn't matter about the police, any job. Don't listen to your dickhead boss tell you shit. The boys that do some cars for me, I look at them as not mates, but something more than mates, to be honest, because they help me, I help them, and it is a business relationship. But they have helped me at times when I really needed help. For example, a couple of weeks ago, a client dropped off a G-Wagon randomly and said, I'm just going to finish it whenever you can. And we had so many cars to do. And my boys that work for me said, no, we're going to stay back, or we're going to do it. It doesn't matter how long it takes. And they didn't even want to get paid extra. I could never treat someone like how I got treated. And I hope that the boys that work for me can feel the same. And I don't know how some bosses are out there just being fucking dickheads, and if you're treated like that, I'd recommend starting a business without a doubt. It's the best thing you'll ever do. And now that I've spoken to quite a few well-off business owners, one of them said to me that, so you've seen the light now, like you've seen the light at the end of the tunnel. I said, yeah. And he said, yeah, you can never go back now, can you? I said, nah. So I've went from, I had, barely $1,000 in my account. That guy just waved, sick cunt. I went from barely having $1,000 in my account at the beginning of the year to I'm on the way to buying a house now. That was not possible in the police. I don't ever want my wife to work. That won't happen now. The Camaro will happen, not now, probably in 2026, but that's not important. It's just another dream. But the things that really are important in life, I can do now. I was growing up, I don't know why the fuck I thought this, but I knew I would never be able to buy a car like this, but I didn't see it was an actual shock to me to understand that I would never be able to buy my Camaro in the police. Like, the Camaro it's not a McLaren, it's not a Ferrari, and I could not understand how working that hard, getting treated like shit that much, could not buy me something like that. And I understand it's a $150,000 car, but that was my dream growing up was a ZL1, and I just, it was fucking unbelievable to me that something that isn't that expensive couldn't be bought. Or Mustang. That's nice. Let alone a house around my parents. You know, I don't want to leave my parents. I don't want to move fucking an hour or 2 hours away where it becomes a mission to see them. Like, I want to live around my parents, around my family, and that's all impossible as a cop. And I'm using a cop as an example. It's probably most jobs, to be honest. We're just getting to the top of the mountain. We'll do a walkthrough. So this is the 720 that we've got. I wanted something quick. This is what they recommended. Twin turbo V8. I think it was supposed to have 720 horsepower at the wheels from factory, but apparently McLaren lied to pass emissions, so it doesn't feel like 720 at the wheels. It's a fucking rocket. Drop top. Been driving it around. We just took it on a mountain pass here, and it's very, very quick. Volcano Orange, I think it's called. Full PPF, no ceramic coating, unfortunately, but I'm telling the owner he needs to get that done ASAP. These door handles are confusing as fuck. They're here. When you press it, and then it all goes up. I did a lot of research on these cars. The carbon monocoque in these is crazy, and even though I'm 6'5", I actually fit in it very, very well, even with the roof up carbon ceramics. Well, my left calf hurts just from having to slam the brakes, because you need to apply like 200 foot-pounds of torque on the brake just to be able to press the brakes. It's so hard. 720 sexy, that's a mad number plate. The exhaust has burnt all the PPF, so someone needs to fix that. That's the motor in there. You can't open it, but you can see the gold that they've wrapped. That's the exhaust, I think it is, and it gets very, very hot, and you can actually feel a little bit of it when you're accelerating, and when you brake, the heat does come through a little bit. We'll sit inside the car. Bit of a mission to get into, to be honest. But lucky the top's down. It's actually really comfortable, a lot more comfortable than I was thinking. We'll start the car. Sounds very, very, very good. I've never driven a car that's so rough and the steering is so hard to turn the car, so that's crazy. I'll close this, and since we're going to leave soon, I might as well put this back down. I feel like Doug DeMuro. We're passing a police station. So in Sydney Ceramic Coatings, in December, I think we did 53, I can't remember, 53 ceramic coatings or something like that in a month, which is fucking ridiculous. Some people are happy with like 2 a month, so we just did 53, which is probably up there with a lot of shops that have been around for many years. In that, I myself, I've gone through agencies, I've done everything, and I had to do everything myself all the time. I had to learn how to make ads, run ads, ad accounts. I had to make my own CRM because they were all shit. Posting, like, I had to be on camera, I hated that. So I literally had to learn everything to be able to get the business to where it's at. And at the same time, I've had a lot of people ask me, bro, how did you get this many jobs in your, in your detailing business? I can't even get 2-3 a month or something like that. And because it's been about a year now, and I don't think we've done less than 20 a month, like even when we first started. So it's a bit easier. Like it's easier said than done for me now. Like, I just say it as if it's easy, but I understand it is still very hard to get these jobs. We're on an on-ramp, we're gonna give it a hit. We hit 55 kilometers an hour. That was 63 kilometers an hour. So yeah, Sydney Ceramic Coatings is pretty stable. I'm getting happier with the stability of it. And I've had a lot of people, as I said, message, how are you getting all these ceramic coating jobs? So after months of planning, I've decided to launch Detail Launch. I did join quite a few courses to learn all this stuff. One was really good. Shout out Hudson Archer. Hadrian Elite was really good. But I decided to launch Detail Launch, which was my own, and it's more of a scaling system, and it's made more for people who already have a business, a detailing business, and it's plug and play, and it's what I wish I had when I started. So like in Detail Launch, for example, how to make, launch and scale ads is probably the biggest bottleneck in most businesses. And after like 2 years of e-com and all that, I finally have worked it out. And now we get consistent leads for Sydney Ceramic Coatings. I'm booking people while I'm on holiday, for example, for 2026. So there's a lot of info in it. There's already a couple people in it. It would be better if I was to show you properly on maybe a one-on-one call. So if you're down to actually scale your detailing business and, God willing, grow it to something that likes Sydney Ceramic Coatings, then comment scale below. But if you want your car ceramic coated, comment ceramic, and I'll message you all in the chat.